There was no other way, and there was no one else. The grotesque swell to the belly, the unnatural writhing, my indescribable pain. I was panicked, but I knew it was up to me. I had to do it. No one else seemed to have the spine to offer anything more than assistance. Clinically, I had to think clinically. And I had to move fast, had to take the knife and cut. Yet I had to be careful not to cut too deep. To cut too deep would mean certain disaster, wouldn't it? I had to shut everything down. I had to shut off the lights in all my rooms, except the one where I would cut. I had to ignore my pain, exit the moment, and I had to proceed. I took the knife and placed its blade on the belly. Then I pressed and dragged, not too hard, but firm. The layers cut more easily than I'd imagined, and my incision was true. Still, no time to waste. Had to keep moving. I pulled back the layers and reached deep into the belly. He was right there, my child, my son. I held him in my hands inside the belly. Then I pulled him through the viscera, the muscle, the skin. I held him in my arms, covered in blood as he was. Eyes half opened, staring at nothing. Of course, he was dead, just as they'd said he'd be. I held him, and I wailed, and wailed some more. Then, I hated my husband for making us come to the Amazon with him. Hated myself for not refusing to come. I hated that I'd looked away, even though it had only been for the slightest of moments. And though the beast hadn't acted out of malevolence, as my heart told me it surely must be, but only out of its instinct to survive, I still hated it. The beast, the giant snake. My poor boy, my little James. He was just 2 when the anaconda ate him alive. Go away, Eric. Please move on and leave us alone. It's the last line of Christina's latest note to me, which she's typed and left in an open MS Word doc on my old laptop. It's more than heartbreaking to read, just as it was devastating to watch when she had her new fiancé Brian move into the bedroom we used to share as husband and wife. Fighting back the tears, I type, "No, I love you," beneath her note, then slam the laptop closed. Confident that the noise has woken the 2 lovebirds, I head outside into the cold autumn morning. Even though I'm no longer welcome in my own house, I still can't bring myself to leave. It's my property. I purchased it well before we married. However, these days I'm really liking it out by the shed, just hanging with the shovels, rakes, and power yard equipment. It's peaceful back here. I grab a shovel and set myself to digging behind the shed. Digging helps me to get out my frustrations. I find it mildly therapeutic. After a few shovelfuls, I grow restless and move to a new location, the vegetable patch in the front of the shed. Christina and Brian hate when I dig there. She'll eventually come out and fill in the holes, like usual, as Brian yells at her about how they need to move. While he's doing that, I'll just sit back in the bushes and laugh, as usual. As I excavate deeper into the soft dirt, I try to remember what went wrong with Christina and my relationship. Sure, we'd had our share of arguments, but it wasn't until she'd started spending longer hours at work with her new coworker, Brian, that things really began to go south. It all culminated with an awful dinner Christina made for me one night. It should have been good. It was steak and potatoes, but it just tasted off. I remember I made a comment about it, and she got this scared and worried look in her eyes, as if I'd caught her doing something she shouldn't. It was strange. Down in the hole, I hit something solid. The dirt had been very soft, so it hadn't been hard work. At the bottom of the hole was what appeared to be the top of a wooden chest. Seeing that chest, I'm instantly flooded with memories. Memories of pain, heat, and sheer terror. I drop the shovel and stagger back. Behind me, I hear the screen door open. Brian and Christina are arguing when they come running out. They're arguing about my note on the laptop. They're arguing about the hole I dug. When they extract the chest, which is apparently full to the brim with a fine, gray powder, Brian tells Christina she should have dumped him in the river, far away from here. Who should have been dumped, I wonder. Anyway, I know I'm not wanted here, and I should just move on. I just can't bring myself to do it. After I blew out my 18th birthday candles, a strange man appeared. Nobody seemed to notice him, except for me. He was clothed in white and shone with an unearthly light. He had the most beautiful sky blue eyes I had ever seen, a brilliant smile with pearly white teeth, and silky dove wings stretching out behind him. "Hello, Isaac," he sang. "I'm your guardian angel, Gabriel. Happy birthday." My jaw dropped. The angel winked at me. "Don't worry, I will be here to guide you through your teenage years. We will be the best of friends." And he was right. We did become the best of friends. For a deity from heaven, he surprisingly knew a lot about pop culture and the latest trends. We spent hours late at night, chatting away. I would tell him about my day, and he would listen soulfully and respond with advice. One day, he showed me a vision of me dead on the floor. My parents were standing around with knives and sadistic smiles on their faces. "I know the future," he said. "You can trust me." However, my hands were shaking, my face deathly pale, as I executed Gabriel's plan. I got the smallest knife I found and sneaked up to my parents' room and slit their throat. Warm blood trickled downwards and stained everything crimson. I got off scot-free thanks to Gabriel, who must have used his powers to clean everything up. But guilt wore down heavily on me, like I was carrying all the sins of the world. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I tried seeing people for my problems. I tried to settle down with somebody to love, but every time a few months later, Gabriel would convince me, with visions as proof, that there was something wrong with them. It was no surprise then that I died, alone and lonely, on a cold winter's day, without anybody to remember me. I woke up, though, in a room where fire and wild shadows were dancing on the wall. Mom and Dad, and everybody else I once loved and killed, stared back at me, anger haunting their faces. Then a voice from the heavens boomed. "For every sin and murder you committed, it would be repaid twice as heavily to you." But I was just trying to protect myself, I sobbed. My guardian angel, Gabriel, said I would die if I don't. Guardian angel. Gabriel, said the voice blankly. What are you talking about? Realization dawned upon me as the horde of victims stormed towards me, hands reaching out for my throat. The shadows on the walls parted, and Gabriel's face appeared on the wall. He cracked a sinister, victorious smile